So now you get in, and at what point do you get introduced to Gotti where you and Gotti's relationship starts developing?
I don't meet Gotti. Gotti does something and goes to jail for a little while, a couple of years. That guy they shot in the bar, he didn't even shoot him. That's what was in the movie, but that's not true.
Let me ask you just a question before you get there. I've heard two stories that Gotti and Junior never killed anybody. From your experiences, did you ever hear about them killing anybody themselves? Not putting the hit on somebody else doing the work, them doing it themselves.
I don't think so. I don't remember if he pulled the trigger, if he didn't pull the trigger. But I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't bank on him not being able to shoot you.
You wouldn't bank on him not being able to shoot you?
Yeah, he'd shoot you in a fucking hot minute like that. I don't know about John Jr., but the father would kill you in a hot minute. I didn't pull the trigger all the time. I was basically the guy who headed and planned the hit. And let me tell you really quick how that happened. Tato really got to know me, and he said, Sammy, why are you always the front guy in when you go steal? With your Gumbada alley boy, you go in, you're the first guy, stick them up, do this, do that. Why are you always the first guy in? So I said, I don't know. That's just the way we do it. And alley boy, he's my Gumbada. He's got my back. He's a tough guy. So he says, listen, I know he's a tough guy, but alley boy's not that smart. Would you agree with that? Yeah. He's dumb as wood sometimes. Okay, so you are smart. He said, you know what happens? You go in, he's taking you back. Something happens, he has to rearrange everything and make things happen so you get away. And he ain't got the brains. Don't you think it should be the other way around? He goes in first, you have his back. If something happens, you can react like this. He can't. And if he does react like that, it's always going to be something crazy. And I love Ali Boy. I'm not knocking him. He's telling me. And I love him too. He's my Gumbada. He's godfather to my daughter. You know, he's reactionary. He just reacts. He don't think when he reacts. So I said, I never looked at it that way. He said, later on in life, when you go do a hit, it's not the guy who pulls the trigger you got to worry about. It's the guy who plans it. The guy who plans that guy can't get away, number one. And number two, that you all get away. You're a planner. Go home and look in the fucking mirror. Stop running in first. Think. Use your head. And I thought about it, and he was right. I thought he was 100% right. I more or less did the planning of it. But if you think that I would hesitate on pulling the trigger because I'm the planner and not the actual shooter, and it was said, anybody could shoot a gun. You're pulling the trigger.
Interesting. So how many of the 19 did you pull the trigger on?
I'm not even going to get into that because it doesn't matter, and by now I'm going to have problems with all kinds of victims saying all kinds of things, so I'm not going to get into that.
So in your world, calling it means a hit on you, meaning that counts as one of your 19. 19 doesn't mean that you shot.
Any role you take.
You know what I'm asking here?
Yes. But any role you take in that murder, you're part of it. Listen, there's a couple of guys sitting here. Okay? And we're gonna hit this guy, this one guy. And you're in on it. This guy's in on it. This guy here, over here, he's gonna pull the trigger and shoot him. You're gonna do this. You're gonna drive a car, a crash car. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And you're sitting in this room right here. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. The attention's gotta be around you so we can kill him. Now a guy comes, he gets up from there and walks over. He's got a glass of water or something. But instead of getting a glass of water, he shoots him in the head, he blows his brains out. You're sitting right here. You don't think this guy's got balls? Or you know what I mean? Or you take away anything from him, he's part of the hit. Law enforcement don't give a shit what you did. You're part of that hit. That's life without parole. You're a hit guy. Mm. But it's your function. What are you going to be? Now, today you might be sitting here. Tomorrow this guy might be sitting there and you're doing the hit. It don't matter who's pulling the trigger. It's a matter of how does it happen? How does it work where you're not just sloppy in the middle of the streets and where it's perfectly done and you get away with it. So getting away with it 19 times, if you want to.
But out of the 19, it's not necessarily that you pulled the trigger.
No,
19
no, no,
times.
no, no. I don't even think it's important who pulls the trigger.
You don't think so?
No, everybody in that room who's on this hit is capable of pulling that trigger. I don't want you to be the shooter. Maybe I want this guy to pull the
How
trigger.
do you call the shots on who shoots? How is that decision made?
On how I plan to hit.
But how do you choose one person over another person? Is it the case and how the relationship is and who's
I'll
the
give you an
least?
example with a guy named DB who got killed.
Sure.
And a quick example, because I don't want to explain the whole thing. But he's going to come in to a meeting. So we're going to sit at a table just like me and you were sitting. Actually a little closer. So he's going to get killed. Now what I do is I tell the old man Joe Peruta, who's with me, Joe, get DB a coffee. He walks over there, opens up the cabinet, takes a quick peek, takes out the gun with the silencer, comes up behind you, and hits you. Boop! I get splattered. Do you think I'm less than Joe? I couldn't do this? You think this is a less position or a lesser guy? That bullet could hit me too. I'm sitting there. But what makes it work? I don't want to torture the guy. I don't want to wrestle with the guy. I don't even want you to suffer. This is going to sound fucking crazy, I think. But you're going to die. You never even knew what the fuck hit you. DB died and had no reaction whatsoever. It's like getting a massive explosion in your body or your heart stops immediately and you're just killed over. That's what it is. So when I do a hit, it's clean. And I'm immediately going to pick him up and put him in a body bag. We're going to get rid of him so there's not stuff all over the place. It's a whole thing. So I'm a professional hit guy. People would say on the street just before we got pitched practically, this fucking Sammy the Bull's got a contract on you, you're dead. You can't get away from this guy. Why? Because I had blinders on. Like this, the way I'm looking at you now. I don't look at nothing. I don't care about the people who are in this room if there was people. I don't care about my family, my friends, my uncle, my aunt, money, nothing. Just you. It's me and you. And I'm gonna pick when you're gonna die. And it's cold and calculated, and not that cold and calculated, because you come in here with your wife or your kid. You're not gonna get hit. Not with me. You're not getting hit. We'll get him another time. But I'm on you like glue. When you're making mistakes, I'm gonna be the last face you see. I'm all over you. Why did I get picked 19 times? By bosses. Colombo people actually first, then Paul Castellano, then John Gotti. Why am I being picked? Why am I in 3 mafia wars?
Why are you?
I'm fucking good at it. I'm what Tato said. I'm a thinker. I'm a planner. I'm not a thug. I'll give you another thug thing. One time Paul Castellano in his house is sitting there and he's talking to us like he always did. All the heavyweights are at the table, all of them. John Gotti, Roy DeMeo, me, everybody. We're all sitting there. And he says, you know, in our life, there's 2 kinds of guys. There's gangsters, who are thugs, and there's racketeers, who are more like business guys. Very, very rare will you find someone who is both. It's almost impossible when you look around. You're either a thug or you're a racketeer. He says, we have one in our family. We should be fortunate. You could have heard a pin drop. Everybody's head is turned looking at him. And he said, that guy, and is that Sammy the Bull? He's a thug and a racketeer. My fucking chest came out 4 inches. My head must have blew up 2 or 3 inches. I couldn't believe that I'm being pulled out like that. And when we're leaving, I'm hitting guys on the back. You fucking thug, you're only a thug. I'm both. And I'm breaking chops. I didn't even realize what it was. And I thought, this is how my brain works. How did I become a gangster and a racketeer? How is that possible? It's impossible for so many people. How did I become that? I got the lexic. How the fuck did I become both? Stone cold killer, you could call me, and a fucking great business guy who could run unions. How did I become both? Now it's my upbringing. What I learned from my father, from my mother, from my family. I absorbed that, and it never left me. How legitimate, how honest they were. How they never lied. I mean, that never left me. Mr. Mandrakia. I'm still mentioning his name fucking 50 years ago. Those things never left me. When I was in a gang, we didn't kill people like they do here. We just fought fights. When I go into the Colombo family, beat up that guy, rob that, hijack that, kill this guy, do this, do that. And now I go into the Gambino family, I'm sitting with Tato, and I'm learning about business, unions, all kinds of things. And I always played around with construction. And I was in businesses, they didn't work, a few of them. Had a fruit and vegetable store, didn't work. But every time my business didn't work, I never thought I failed in business. I just looked at the business and said, what did I do wrong that other people could have businesses and succeed? What did I do wrong to not succeed? So even when I failed, I won. I knew why I failed, and it would help me down the road. I knew that. That's what made me both. All of those things.
That's the highest level of compliment somebody like him can give you, to be an
I think
earner
in front of 20 different guys, all captains and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about as high, and I wasn't a captain, I was an acting captain.
Now, how's your relationship at that time? How are you and Gotti doing together, coming up?
We're doing fine. I don't really know Gotti. I know of him. I think I was made in 1976. I think he was made in 77. So he was made after me.
Gotti was made after you?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they kept it open for how long did they keep it
Oh,
open
it's
for?
open for years. It's never
Okay,
really closed.
Got it.
So
Why did they close in the first place for 19 years or 18 years?
it was more than that. It was from 1955 or something like that, from 1957 to 1975. They closed it because some people were charging money to get made, or some
Got it.
people were putting their sons in there who didn't really belong. I guess they got so frustrated with it, they closed it, and it didn't open no more.
Got it. So you're in 76, he's in 77, and then how does that relationship get started?
Frankie DeChico, I was very close with all my life. Every time he was a full-blown captain, I was made, and I was an acting captain. Tato made me his acting captain almost immediately, a year later. I would always patronize places that he would open, an after-hour club, a crap game, gambling. So I would always go and patronize. So I was there, and his father, Frankie DeChico's father, his name was Boozy, was a made guy. He was under Tato, so was I now. So I was standing at the bar with Boozy, Frankie DeChico's father, and the door opened, and John Gotti and a few guys walked in, his little entourage. So he says, "Do you know this kid, John Gotti?" I said, "No." I heard of him. Matter of fact, he helped a friend of mine who was in jail, and he did it in a movie. He had a problem with black people, and they were gonna hurt him. He heard that the kid was friendly with me. He intervened and straightened the whole thing out. So, and I was telling Boozy, he did something like that. I heard, and he says, "Yeah, there's a lot of good things with him. He's gonna be like us eventually." But I know he's not a friend, but he's gonna be. And when I say friend, I mean a main guy, when I'm talking to a main guy. He came over to Boozy, knew Boozy. "Hey, Boozy, how you doing? Are you Sammy?" "Sammy, yeah. I met him." And he says, "Oh, Sammy, I hear a lot of great things." And he told me about my friend that he helped. I said, "I heard about that, I appreciate it." I said, "Give John a drink." I said, "I hear a lot of good things about you too, Bo." That's when we met. A little while later, he went in the back where there was a crap game. John was a degenerate gambler, so he went in the back, and I stood at the bar with Boozy. That's when I met him, in 1977. I didn't grow up with John. I didn't come from that neighborhood. They have me that we have a long relationship. We don't. I'm on a whole other end. I'm Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, Bay Ridge, Bensonhurst. You know, I'm in that area. He's in Queens, almost towards Long Island. It's not my neighborhood. But I did hear about him. I knew he was in the family, but I didn't know, I knew he wasn't made. You know, then he went to the camp for a while.
Was he overly ambitious on why he eventually became the boss, or was it something where everybody around said, "No, this is the guy that's got to be the boss eventually," after, taking out Paul Castellano?
Read my book coming out, or listen to the podcast. It's too long of a story.
Give me the shorter version of it. Give me a glimpse of it.
I say it again.
Was John Gotti, was he overly ambitious where, Frank Collada tells me when he first met Tony Spilotro, he knew eventually Spilotro wanted to be a boss. Like he said it since he was a kid. It was an inspiration to him. Was Gotti so ambitious where he wanted to be a boss eventually, or was it something where people voted and said, he has what it takes to be a boss?
Oh, no. Listen, he wasn't, he didn't have what it takes to be a boss. We made him a boss. But Paul fucked up. He made a lot of mistakes. I thought the world of him in the beginning. He lost my love through a series of events, and he lost the respect that Frankie had for him. Paul had made a ton of mistakes prior, and there was rumbling and growling by us, the troops, whatever. A lot of things. He changed from what he was in the beginning. He got more greedy. He had so much fucking money. It was, how could you be that? How could you be greedy? He's got so much fucking money. It's incredible. He just made one bad move after the other.